Now that that's out of the way, the question remains. Can you beat Pokemon Emerald with only a Regirock? The short answer is no. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace. I'm sure there are those of you that still want to see me try, and I've been sitting on this footage for about a year now, so I might as well do something with it. Rules are simple. I can only use Regirock to fight in battles. That's it. No other hardcore challenge run style rules, just only use Regirock, and even that will have some exceptions. I plan to do more Pokemon content in the future, like an Articuno only run in Fire Red, or trying to beat a mainline Pokemon game as a sync pair from Pokemon Masters. But let's try to get through one train wreck at a time, shall we? So I start by naming myself something stupid that most people familiar with my channel will understand and cringe at. If you know, you know. So I'm shipped somewhere in a dark truck, and I can only hope that I'm not being trafficked somewhere like last time. I settle into my new home, but for some reason I'm enlisted to help a strange man fend off a wild animal. Great neighborhood, Dad. So I go ahead and pick Trico and fail the run. Yeah, if you want to count the challenge as already having failed because I didn't hack Regirock in as a starter, you're free to do so, but trust me when I say the run wouldn't have survived much longer anyway. I nicknamed my Trico some other dumb reference, but it doesn't really matter because I won't ever be using him again. Right? Yeah, this is after all a Regirock only run. The Zigzagoon fight was just a fluke because I'm lazy. Nothing was really lost as a result of not fighting one Pokemon with Regirock, right? It's still essentially a Regirock only run. So, we find and catch our Regirock with a Master Ball. I don't nickname him anything because I think a several thousand-year-old legendary creature deserves more respect than to be nicknamed by a 10-year-old, and we have our first battle encounter in the wild grasses nearby. Our first official fight of the run is a level 3 Poochyena, so I'm confident in our chances of being able to... Oh, fuck. Yeah, so the challenge instantly failed. I don't have any clever workarounds or tactics to make Explosion viable, just the first of many L's to my name, but we're not going to let a little thing like failing the run stop us from successfully completing the run. So the strategy here on in is to swap train Regirock with Sukune II until Regirock gains an attacking move by level up. Our first actual opponent is May, our rival in a time where rivals weren't complete idiots that gave you type advantage with their starters, even though they pick after you. Thanks, idiot. Now I'm going to beat you for the rest of your life and crush your dreams. By idiot, I'm specifically referring to Hop. May's Torchic gave me no issues, so I would defeat May easily, not at all by the skin of my teeth, and Sukune 2 would go on to level up to level 6 and gain Absorb, another testament to my failure. May runs away and we move on. After making my way to Petalburg and meeting up with my estranged father, I was forced to watch this loser catch a Ralts because future rival reasons. He's able to pull it off, but I can't help but wonder if he thinks some stupid little Ralts will help him against the legendary Regirock. Oh wait, it will, because his Ralts will know moves other than Explosion. I was then accosted by the god of death, Scott. I was paralyzed in fear as he talked to me about something. I wasn't really listening. He then departed and I escaped with my life. Having cheated death, I ran into this random weirdo that thought a 10-year-old could help him while he was being bullied by a criminal. Makes sense to me. Finally, while clearing out Rustboro Gym, Regirock learned his first attacking move. He must have seen how effectively I was concussing Pokemon by throwing Master Balls at them, and decided to copy me, but with rocks. Good boy. With Rock Throw in tow, the real game can begin. The first gym leader to die is Roxanne. I go ahead and make my save state and start the battle. This one was pretty difficult to start if I remember correctly, and I probably don't after a year. So I went out and grinded a bunch of levels to gain a sizable level advantage to make up for my lack of type advantage or powerful offensive options. While I was grinding, Regirock gained Curse, a move that would go on to be one of the most integral parts of this run. I basically employed the tactic of Curse like 5 times then Sweep. Try beating someone that uses Dark Magics, Roxanne. Roxanne's Geodudes never really posed a threat of beating me, but when I initially saw how long it took to beat them, I realized I needed a power boost. The real threat was her Ace, which was the only Pokemon that could defeat Regirock before the fresh carton of milk in my fridge expired. I used her initial weak Pokemon to set up my curses in preparation for her Nosepass in all of its tiki-headed glory. Seeing as I had stat boosts that increased my physical attack and defense at the cost of my speed, I was completely disinterested in Geodudes that I had a 5-level advantage against, and everything I had done was basically almost solely for the Nosepass. I cannot stress this enough, but I think Curse was a run saver for me. You guys will see how useful the move goes on to be, and I'm sure I could have done the run without it, but with Regirock's general moveset and the amount of trainers that have at least one Pokemon with one move that has type advantage against Rock, I'd have probably taken a year to complete the run, let alone edit and upload the footage. I think I tried and failed like 4 times at sub-level 10, went out and grinded for nearly 10 levels, then came back and did it in sub-5 attempts, so not bad all things considered. I was awarded the TM for Rock Tomb from Roxanne's corpse, a TM I eagerly awaited to add to Regirock's arsenal. I would add it, hide Roxanne's body, and move on. As a part of some story stuff, I would meet up with the weirdo again, and he would ask me for help in retrieving his stolen lunch money. On my way to get it back, I run into this Pillarman Giga-Chad, Mr. Briny, who's been separated from his wife Pico. Pico the Wingle. Well, I beat the grunt and got her back. Time to beat May again. This May fight was everything I wanted from the first fight. A brutal domination of a battle using one of the strongest Pokemon to ever exist, Regirock, the legendary elemental golem. So the strategy was simple. Curse and concuss. My decent level advantage made this a total annihilation. May stood no chance, and that's exactly how I liked it. Hopefully I'm able to crush the hopes, dreams, and bodies of everyone I come across, men and women, children and adults alike, I thought. As I would soon come to find out, this, unfortunately, would not be the case. In any case, May's team of Lotad and Torchic didn't stand a chance against a curse-amped Regirock with a level advantage. The game was rigged from the start. After getting to the point of one-shotting Lotad, I knew Regirock was ready. Ready for May and everyone else. I was wrong, but that confidence was well intended. So I sent May on her merry way and moved on to Mr. Briny so that he could sail me to Dewford, the location of my next massacre. After evading pursuing police, I made it to Mr. Briny's place. You guys will now witness me trying to solve the most difficult puzzle in all of Pokemon history, how to separate Pico and Mr. Briny. I don't know how that grunt managed it, but he must have been a god in disguise, because few mortal men that walk the earth have the power to do that. After doing the impossible, Mr. Briny whisked me off to Dewford Island on his boat. I get a call from my dad, but both it and he do not matter. Besides, whose name is Norman? Shout out to all my normal men. Oh my god, his name is Norman because he's the normal type gym leader. Every day we stray further from God's light. Anyway, after some boring story stuff, I move on to the next name on my hit list. Brawly, not to be confused with Broly. For the most part, this gym was pretty easy. I don't recall having to attempt it that many times, but then again, I could have just repressed all the attempts like I did all the other horrible tragedies I've experienced in my life. Over half of my brain is practically mush at this point anyway. The biggest threat the matchup could present was his type advantage and stat amps, but since Curse amps physical defense, I was in the clear generally speaking. No matter how many steroids this matchup took, he could never reach Regirock's rock-hard body. He's just built different. Eventually, I would just whittle away the matchup's health like editing this video has whittled away the last remnants of my sanity. Or so I thought before Brawly employed the age-old tactic of using a potion. What a bitch. Only I'm allowed to do that. So I continued to just spam Rock Tomb until it died. Yeah, try healing your matchup after I bury it under a mountain. Regirock becomes level 20, and Metatite is offered as the next tribute. I employ the age-old tactic of using a potion like a brilliant tactician, and this dude actually lands a focus punch that does practically nothing because of my curse stacks. He goes for it again, but I just tell Regirock to throw a rock at his head. He gets a concussion, dies, and we're on to the next one. Makuhita, in all of his dumpling glory, is next on the menu. He's able to dodge my first Rock Tomb and shoot up, but it must have been some bad stuff, because he gets hit hard right after. The fat fuck munches on some berries, but I just keep telling Regirock to throw rocks at him until he has brain damage. That still counts as a win, right? After getting a critical hit with Rock Tomb, they try to save Makuhita's brain for science, and I get the Dewford Gym Badge. Brawly gives me the TM for steroids, but I thought having 2 buffs was a little redundant, so I move on. Remember kids, don't do drugs. Just practice black magic. Next my accomplice sails me to Slateport. I wrote in my notes that I just realized the town is called Slateport and not Sailport, even though this is my favorite generation of Pokemon and I've played it the most, just in case you guys didn't already think I was an idiot. After going to the museum, Scott finds me, likely looking for his due since I owe him my soul, but he looks at my face, which is enough to scare him away for now. Then I run into May again. Yay! So May is back again with newer and stronger Pokemon, like this thing. I try to concuss it, but I'm so confused by May actually talking to me multiple times instead of running away and getting a restraining order, my Pokemon starts hitting itself. Because that's how confusion works. Eventually, Regirock just shakes it off like that hit song, Looking for a Boyfriend by Big Time Rush. We concuss the bird, and next is this mutant lily pad thing. Obviously, since we can't burn it with fire, we opt to bury it under rocks, where it can never get to any children again. Finally, we have to deal with Kentucky Fried Thighs over there. The answer, of course, is to keep throwing rocks at it until it gets more drain damage than I do. But first, a refreshing sody pop. Ah, delicious. Almost as good as the blood of the innocents. So, with Regirock's life secured, we can finally kill May's last Pokemon and end her childhood dream in a horrible trap. Wait, they just get knocked out? Well shit, that's not as fun. I guess we'll just beat her Pokemon with physical violence for now. That'll do. Next, this whiny little bitch's Ralts gets steamrolled by the overwhelming power of a thing throwing rocks at it. Something only a supremely powerful legendary Pokemon is capable of doing. Sorry, Wally, you're not even the main character of your own life. Wally lost, and everything was right with the world. For now. With a cold chill in the air, Scott tracked me down again and threatened my life before running away. Next, I would be ending the long life of Watson, the Mauville Electric Gym leader, after slaughtering all of his minions. Watson, for some reason, thought shocking a pile of rocks was a good idea. Surprisingly, he wasn't necessarily wrong, but concussions can never go wrong, and everything dies when you bury it alive. Except for rocks. And dirt. And some bugs. A lot of things don't die when you bury them alive. In any case, Watson decided to say, "Rules be damned," and just sick his dog on me. Regirock may be a bit of a two-trick pony, consisting of cursing himself and throwing rocks, but an effective two-trick pony is just fine by me, and I've taken under advisement that a pile of rocks would be understandably limited in his options to commit murder, so kudos to Regirock's results despite his lack of ingenuity. Luckily, after doing everyone a favor and cursing myself, I would tell Regirock to throw some rocks, and he killed Watson's dog. Take that, Watson. Not long after, Watson's fridge magnet would bite the dust as well, and Watson decided to sick another dog on me. It howls in protest, so I prematurely bury it. Watson's life is now in the palm of my hand. I allow Watson to live as a broken man, and move on to crushing Team Magma. I've always wanted to destroy an organization of people and conquer an element. Now I can kill 2 Wingles with 1 rock throw. This loser talks about some dumb land kink, so I challenge him to a duel and believe in the heart of the cards. Wait, that's the wrong thing. Is this Yu-Gi-Oh? Flannery took me many attempts, but only 1 try. Despite the fact that it looked like me, her Numel didn't pose much of a threat. I taught Regirock how to smash things with his rocky arms, which is a powerful move with actually good synergy, with Curse boosting Regirock's physical attack and Rock Smash occasionally lowering the opponent's physical defense. Rock hit good. I used this handsome Numel's lifespan to stack Curse onto Regirock, because Torkoal and Camerupt are fairly challenging. I considered coming up with a plan to defeat Flannery, but plans are for the weak. The strong just smash things, throw rocks, and use dark magic. It also probably helped that I was fighting Pokemon that were roughly 15 levels below Regirock, but the vast majority of my skillful victories are attained from my battle prowess and combat intellect. With my curse stacks set, I begun my assault. Regirock smash. Next was Sugma. Yeah, I know what I said. Regirock also now has access to Ancient Power, a rock-throwing move that has a chance to grant several buffs. It's everything a Regirock could ever hope for. Having all but brushed Flannery's entire team under a rock slide, I command Regirock to bury Camerupt. Hopefully, by disturbing an active volcano, I can start a natural disaster and wipe out Lava Ridge. That's just a really big Pokemon battle, right? I don't think I entirely understand what a Pokemon battle is. With Torkoal defeated, Flannery is killed and I evade Lava Ridge PD as I escape to Petalburg to kill my father. Next was my father. I considered patricide to be a delicious garnish on a murder meal, so for making me move away from all my friends to a weird neighborhood with weird old men that force you to help them fight wild animals, he must die. I of course didn't tell him that I didn't have any friends to move away from to begin with. First up to the plate was Spinda. I wasn't too concerned about this gym considering my level advantage and diamond in the rough, Rock Smash, but I didn't know for sure that it would be as easy as expected. I can't believe that, for a single second, I doubted the majesty of our Lord Regirock. With a roughly 10 level advantage, a super effective move, a bunch of boosts to physical attack and defense from Curse, and potential defense drops from Rock Smash, this gym was as easy as murdering a father. I guess taking candy from a baby would have been easier for most people, but if it is, that just means you're not as cool as I am. Spinda's confusion was a bit annoying, but being an idiot has its advantages. Regirock probably found it difficult to confuse my commands, as they were just a combination of the words curse, concuss, and smash, accompanied by animalistic screeches. After breaking Spinda and breaking free of the grips of confusion, Slacking sacrifices his life to accomplish exactly nothing. He too would be rock-smashed into an animal puree, and Vigoroth would be sent out, pleading to Norman to reconsider his choice of sending Vigoroth out. Vigoroth knew it would die, but it wanted to die last, prolonging the inevitable. It sent Regirock to sleep and frantically tried to kill it, dreading its awakening because Vigoroth knew Regirock would lay waste to the world upon ending its slumber. Upon Vigoroth's sudden and violent death, Norman threw out Lanoon, who regretted the decisions it made in its life that led to this point. The deed was finally done. After defeating my father, I would decide to pay an old friend a visit. Next, I would break into a government institution and set off a nuclear reactor for Watson. I knew I did the right thing by sparing him. After killing thousands, I returned to Watson and killed him because I was horrified by what he had done by himself without any help. After looting his corpse, I left. The police bought my story, and with no witnesses, I could go on to save the Weather Institute. After defeating the criminals, I was rewarded with a Pokémon that could control the weather. I would love and cherish this Pokémon as a gift. I immediately dumped it into the PC. Adios. Next, May somehow resurrected as a zombie and attacked me. She was still annoying, so she had to die again. She did, and I looted her corpse, wondering who resurrected her. I realized there was only one person possibly responsible, and he drive-by'd me. Winona is secretly a bird person, so like all bird people, she had to die. No, I'm not racist. I have bird people friends. Because throwing rocks at birds is such an effective strategy in real life, Game Freak recognized it by making rock a weakness of flying, making this gym one of the easiest. First to die in this gym was a cotton swab. Normally they aren't alive to begin with, but when you breed a cotton swab with a bird, you get this very alive monstrosity. Because Swablu, and by extension Swablu's trainer, was a bird brain, I was easily able to stack all of my curses. Do you guys see what I did there? Bird brain? Because... yeah. I'm sorry. I'm not actually sorry. But what I am is nearly 20 levels higher than Swablu and getting stronger by the turn. I bury Swablu in rocks so that it can never fly again, and I eagerly await the execution of Winona's next Pokémon. She summons a banana tree bird, or basically a demon from hell. Because this thing should not exist, I send it back to the pits of hell that I call where it came from. Next we bury Nigel the Pelican's fat brother. It tries to confuse Regirock, but kill is a pretty broad and simple command. With Pelipper dead, the only one that remains is Omega Cotton Swab Bird, Altria. She tries to buff herself, but I stop her by killing her. With a critical hit, I turn her into a mist and move to Winona's ace, Winona. She transforms into a bird to join the fight, but I wasn't having it. She died instantly, and her ghost started to haunt me. And speaking of being haunted, guess who else comes back from the dead to annoy me? I'm thinking of contacting a priest, but I don't want him to exorcise me too. For the first of many times, I am made a fool of and denied access to the evil team base by these grunts. Their pixel faces haunt my nightmares more than even Scott and May, and thus won't be the last time we see them. I go to Mount Pirate to exorcise Winona's spirit when I catch Archie monologuing. I made sure to mention in my notes that he's a dumbass for ruining his own plans, and I agree with myself. Astute observation, me. Well done. The idiot took the wrong orb even though they're color coordinated. If you think that's bad, Maxie did the same damn thing, and he's the smart one because he wears glasses. I was in utter disbelief, but not because of Maxie and Archie's blunder, but because these old people were still talking to me even though I clearly wasn't listening. These two assholes kept blocking me from the base yet again, but at least they provided information to me that would help me destroy their organization after I threatened their lives with continued exposure to my face. Who knew having a face like an eldritch abomination was so useful? After I received news of his location, Maxie's death was inevitable and imminent, but I wanted to see his face when he realized he fucked up so badly first. Groudon awoke, and I allowed Maxie some final words before slitting his throat and kicking him into the lava pit. I wasn't listening, but at least he got to speak. I was blocked again, so this time I touched one of them. He had such a violent episode of convulsions, his friend immediately squealed about Team Aqua's plans. Archie was stealing a sub because it's reasonable to believe that nobody in Team Aqua knows dive. Finally, I returned to Team Aqua's base, and for some reason the two grunts disappeared. After I killed everybody in the base, Archie ran like a bitch. Next gym leader to die is like a dream for me. It's 2 for 1 and their children. Tate and Liza definitely presented me with an issue. They probably took the longest to defeat out of everyone I fought, though in fairness, I still beat them in less than 10 tries. While the difficulty was so great that I remember it a year later, ultimately, their ancient psychic tandem war elephant wouldn't stand a chance against my nearly level 60 Darren the Sleeper. Claydol presented a threat because of its super effective earthquaking, but a Xatu that calm minds until it's nearly invincible is the bigger issue. Ugh, setting up with buffs is such a bitch move. Anyway, I would first target Xatu to get it off of the field, and then set up with buffs when I could, as Earthquake is a physical move, so my defensive buffs would reduce the damage from it to the point where I was practically invincible. Soul Rock would be my next target, as its special attack and resistance to rock made it a difficult foe to concuss. Can't concuss a rock, I guess. It ate a citrus berry, but I kept focusing it until it died. Ancient power is a bitch, ain't it? Next, a Lunatone would enter the fray, but what is a moon if not a big rock to be thrown? It would become my new target, and its death would become my stepping stone to success. With Claydol the sole remaining survivor, it had to die. A survivor of my massacres couldn't be allowed to exist, as it would ruin my perfect track record. I used some liquid crack to give Regirock an extra chutzpah, and went to work. After an exchange of ancient powers that the dynamic duo very quickly realized they were on the losing end of, they gave their Claydol liquid crack to force it to keep fighting, which is animal cruelty. With the moral high ground secured, I started my setup. Curse wouldn't serve to help defend me against psychics, but it would guarantee that I was hitting much harder when the time presented itself to strike. After Claydol whittled my Regirock with a roughly 20 level advantage to the brink, it realized, with terror in all 4 of its visible eyes, that my Regirock had decided to smash. Despite its best effort to protect itself, Regirock just kept smashing. Taint's crack only served to prolong the inevitable, as Regirock was smashing so much of Claydol's body to pieces, its defense was dropping. Eventually, I was doing more damage than they could feasibly heal, and Regirock smashed Claydol like a china vase. Had it not been for a critical smash to Claydol's brain, and some of that good stuff, Claydol might have exploded my brain. Luckily, crack liquefied Regirock's brain anyway, so there was nothing left for Claydol to liquefy. After watching the battle, I nearly jumped in myself, since my brain is naturally a thick, viscous liquid that leaks out of my ears sometimes. Next time, Claydol. Next time. I was finally blessed with the opportunity to murder multiple children, and I took it. After defeating Tate and Liza, me and Steven did some community service by cleaning up the trash in the Weather Institute, and a grown man I barely know invited me to his house without the presence or consent of a legal guardian. I'll be fine, I think. Mentally scarred by recent events, I find a submarine and get to watch another complete moron have a meltdown about being colorblind, almost destroying the entire planet in the process. This is why I hate colorblind people. He tries to take out his frustrations by beating a 10-year-old at a children's game, but he must have forgotten that he's an idiot, because he lost. One of his fellow idiots approached and explained why they are idiots and how their stupidity caused a world-ending calamity. It was like listening to a conversation where both people are Patrick. Steven shows up and says he wants to meet up again. Talk about clingy. I humor Steven, and he takes the opportunity to say that he wants me to go into a cave, alone, and meet a man I've never met before, where no one can hear me scream. But don't worry, it's to save the world. I meet the man, and we make a plan to awaken an ancient dragon in a tower. I'm sure all the parts for a pedophilic innuendo are in there somewhere, just do it yourself. We get to watch this badass cutscene where the 3 legendary weather Pokemon duke it out. It's short, but it was one of the coolest parts of my childhood. Oh my god, my childhood sucked. Anyway, Papa Rayquaza just kinda says, alright, break it up, show's over, everyone go home, and they do that. Then we fight Juan, the most well-known and beloved gym leader. You know, Juan. So yeah, this knockoff Wallace definitely gave me the ring around, but only because of his Kingdra. Everything else was pretty easy to beat, but when your chief strategy is using Zap Cannon, a move which is notoriously bad for accuracy, against a Pokemon with Double Team, issues start rearing their heads. Love Disc dies before I even finish my intro to the fight, and Crawdaunt is not far behind it. It gets lucky and dodges a Zap Cannon or two, but then it doesn't. After landing 2 Crab Hammers, Juan sends out Kingdra, my nemesis. It water pulses me, but Regirock stays in for the fight. Ancient Power didn't afford the buff or damage I was looking for, so Regirock did some drugs. I know I said don't do drugs, but the only thing more powerful than a practitioner of the dark arts is a practitioner of the dark arts on crack, also known as a practitioner of the dark arts. After nearly killing Kingdra, I get the ancient power boost and assure myself the victory. I receive a second ancient power boost after sending Kingdra to hell, and I'm ready to send more Pokemon there. Furthermore, Regirock gains his 60th level. With the only Pokemon left being this fish that looks hauntingly like me, I clean up and end Juan's stupid, insignificant life. I've looted all 8 gym badges off the corpses of the losers I killed to get them, and I'm ready to kill just 5 more people. I say just 5 more people, but as you know, every single day of my life since my birth has been a bad day, and, well, Wally caught me on a bad day, so I killed him. This is our moveset, and it's time to challenge the Elite Four. I initially made it to Phoebe on my first attempt, but I couldn't feasibly beat her and continue onward, so I grinded some levels on Victory Road and tried again. Sydney provides a minimal threat as Rock Smash. Phoebe tended to be more difficult because of the fact that I had a buff and 2 moves that could hurt any of her Pokemon, but one of those moves had only 5 PP. As you'll see shortly, I did have to heal and regenerate PP after Sydney to make sure I had enough viable offensive options to use against Phoebe, who is prone to using things like Grudge because she's a bitch. But I never healed because Sydney put me in that position. I only healed because I needed everything I could muster against Phoebe. Since Cacturn, ironically, posed the least amount of threat to me, I used his life to curse set up for the Rock Smash sweep. I did have to heal, but by far I had to heal and skate by on the skin of my teeth the least amount of times when dealing with Sydney. I also forgot to mention that, because of Zap Cannon's limited usefulness against Phoebe, I swapped it out for the TM for Earthquake. Or did I gain that by level up? Honestly, I don't remember, but I did fully disclose that my brain is no longer a solid mass. Crawdaunt almost ended my life via Tidal Wave, but it seemed to have forgotten that, in order to be here, I'd have had to beat the wholly superior Crawdaunt of Juan. I used illegal performance-enhancing drugs after throwing pocket sand in Sydney's eyes, and continued the battle against Shiftry. I set up a bit more and knock a home run out of the park like I was never able to do in real life because no one likes me, so I had no friends to play baseball with. Shiftry tries to make it a curveball or some other hard-to-hit baseball throwing thing, but my putter struck true and I got a hole-in-one. I also might not have played baseball because I don't know what it is. Last up to the bat was Absol, but by this point, I was totally set up. Insult to injury, Absol was crit and died instantly. I scalped Sydney and challenged Phoebe. I honestly can't say that Sydney was that tough of a fight, but I suppose that's the thing about the Elite Four. You have to beat all 4 of them in a row and then the champion. So it's not so much about the difficulty of the individual trainer, but rather the challenge of fighting them in a row. Phoebe, however, is difficult. After several runs against her and the Elite Four beyond this point, I learned of a fatal error in my strategy. My PP was a much bigger problem than I expected. Rather than just load up on health items and ethers, I wanted to try to beat the Elite Four and Champion with only what I walked in with, so my moveset would drastically change from battle to battle, especially after running out of PP, as I would just use TMs to change out my moves, giving me full PP in a brand new move. Dusclops was fairly easy to beat, so I would set up a curse or 2 and off it. Dusclops, however, was an entirely different beast. Not really, I just wanted to make that joke. After destroying both of them, the bitch with the grudge was next, and she definitely didn't help my PP situation. Bitches usually don't help me with my PP situation, so I was prepared for this. I would, by the grace of God, learn Hyper Beam by level up. Learning that particular move here was much luckier than you guys know for now, but you'll understand later. Next was Sableye, who wanted me to miss to run down my remaining PP. What a dick. Get it? PP? Dick? Whatever, I thought it was kind of funny. With 2 more Earthquakes, I would send the current Sableye and the Banette that would come out after it to early graves. I would then go on to kill Phoebe, where her spirit would join great names like Winona, Scott, May, and probably Wally as ghosts currently haunting me. After Phoebe waited a fairly difficult fight in the form of the next Elite Four member, Glacia. Glacia was an ice-cold bitch. Okay, I'll stop. But she was pretty difficult since she, for the large part, has several Pokemon with type advantage moves. The hail was also annoying, but negligible for the most part. I taught Regirock Thunderbolt so that he would have a powerful offensive option with decent PP that would sometimes have type advantage. This proved to be a useful tool against Glacia, as many of her Pokemon ended up being weak to it. I still had to be careful of water-type moves from them, but being 10 levels stronger has its advantages. And so do drugs. While it was unfortunate that Glacia seemed to have a plug too, I'm naturally the superior life form, so I was okay. That's a lie, I just had a powerful legendary. If she is inferior to me, may God have mercy on her soul. After Celio rode the lightning and I gave Regirock several healthy doses of Afghani black tar heroin, Walrein would become paralyzed from the neck down and ride the lightning too. He was an omega fat-ass that ate too many lightning bolts to not have some brain damage, but then again, Regirock's brain damage specialty was always brute force, so it's good to see him trying new things. Glalia was next to die, but I didn't anticipate a problem from it since it didn't have any type advantage moves. This was a dumb thing for me to think, but I thought it anyway. I essentially invited death into my life, and Scott answered the call. Despite my stupid brain, Regirock was reliable, trustworthy, and my rock throughout the run. I may have a brain smoother than a pommel stone when it comes to remembering type advantages, but I can still hit gooder. Celio was produced as another seal to the slaughter. As I am Canadian, my innate nature took over and I slaughtered it. It wasn't a spiel, but it still counts. I ended the poor creature's life simply because I could, and Glacia sent out her last line of defense, a Glalie. I don't think Elite Four member Glacia understands the benefit of team diversity. Then again, I guess I don't either, do I? Whatever. I'm doing a challenge run. You just have a bunch of Celios because they're cute, and a bunch of Glalies because their names are similar to yours. I would wipe out the last of Glacia's team and ice her. I was almost to the champion now, and the only thing that stood in my way was one more Elite Four member, and quite possibly the toughest fight in the entire run. After a glorious victory against Glacia, next was Drake. And oh boy did this blindside me. Drake has a much beefier team than I remember. I can't say he genuinely beat my ass, but to do a no-items hardcore style run, I'd have either had to optimize my EVs and IVs or grind out another 10 levels. PP was such an issue because of how tanky his team was, my PP problem became a health problem, and I was too embarrassed to contact a doctor about it. Pokémon like Soccer Ball Dragon, Seahorse Dragon, Dragonfly Dragon, and Bird Dragon didn't present too much of an issue beyond existing, which I corrected, but Pseudo-Legendary Dragon, surprisingly, was difficult to defeat after beating all of his dragony brothers and sisters before him. I honestly think that Regirock would have OD'd if he wasn't made of rocks. I used so many health items, he's practically a crack rock at this point. Earthquake and Rock Smash had limited usefulness throughout, but Hyper Beam and Thunderbolt were, for the most part, still reliable options. Having to recharge fairly often didn't help Regirock's steadily strengthening drug addiction, but when I'm champion, we can always just send him into rehab. If I need to defend my champion title, I can just do a title defense with my Ludicolo, Tropius, and Castform, all of which are not even level 50, let alone champion worthy. With Winona's avatar on Earth attacking me to get her revenge for my exercising her, I was nearing the end of what the Elite Four was capable of, but my capabilities were steadily coming to a limit as well. After beating the full teams of the 4 strongest trainers in the region with the exception of the champion themselves, with a single, albeit legendary, Pokémon, I'm starting to see some lasting impact. Finally, possibly the most horrifying part of the entire run. Salamence, the ace of Drake, one of the legendary Elite Four trainers of the Hoenn region, versus a half-alive pile of rocks that had just fought and defeated the entire teams of 3 other Elite Four members, and Drake's entire team save for this very Pokémon, which is one of the strongest in the 3rd generation of Pokémon. Simply put, my 4 greatest allies were my remaining PP, Crack, Paralysis, and the fact that Struggle is a non-type move. After clutching the Paralysis with my last remaining Thunderbolts, I would basically struggle Salamence to death. The only reason this even worked was because Regirock earlier learned Hyper Beam by level up, but I also had the TM for Hyper Beam, meaning I basically had a full PP restore for Hyper Beam. This back and forth between Regirock and Salamence was basically the culmination of the entire run. Regirock struggles to kill everything, but lo and behold, Regirock smash. After what seemed like an eternity, Regirock would slay the dragon and save the princess. Considering I was only able to win using my narco stash of drugs bigger than all of El Chapo's empire and having a 10-level advantage, I feel pretty confident about my skills and my chances against the champion. Towards the end of the fight, my victory was assured as I just clicked away and slowly watched Salamance's life drain away. Another 2 or 3 struggles later, and Salamence was dead. I caved in Drake's skull because I hate him now, and I moved to face Steven, the champion. Last is what? Yeah, since my first and most played Pokemon game was Sapphire, imagine my disappointment when badass Steven was replaced by that guy with a melodic, Wallace. Emerald will always be inferior to Sapphire just because of that. Still better than Ruby, but that's it. Anyway, because of my new moveset, Wallace was actually quite easy. It would seem that, after saying PP more times than I ever have before and would have ever cared to in my entire life, I was going to become the champion and put the respect on Regirock's name that it deserved. With Thunder, Return, my new Hyper Beam, and Rock Smash in hand, I would go on to slowly and methodically dismantle Wallace's team. Granted, his world-renowned melodic did offer some difficulty, and I almost lost to it at one point, but with some luck, I was able to live just long enough to deliver one last and decisive blow. Being a physical attacker kind of hurt towards the end of the run because of how useful electric-type moves are against both Glacia and Wallace, but Regirock Smash never fails. Dealing with being toxicked by Tentacruel was also kind of annoying, because it's the kind of pressure that needs to be immediately addressed, and I'm not sure I would have had an answer for it other than equipping a P.E.K.K.A. Berry if I was doing a no items in battle run. But rather than thinking about what I would have done, I'll do what I usually do and not think at all. I must admit, the thought of this run being the first gameplay released on my channel was an interesting one, and Mugen doesn't count. I finally dispatched Tentacruel and end any threat of being poisoned. For now. Seeing Wallace's Ludicolo, the affront to God that it was, only served to motivate my killing Wallace and mantling his head on my throne. Champions get thrones, right? Well, his Ludicolo isn't as ugly as mine, so at least I win something. Ludicolo was a typing threat, but not a practical threat, because I'm just better than him. A Paralysis and Hyper Beam later, and I was on the last Pokemon I would have to fight for this run. Wallace's Melodic had type advantage, power, and survivability via Recover, so this would be another stall match. Right out of the gate, you can see why it was such a threat. As I mentioned, I was only able to dispatch it on my first try, sheerly due to luck. I say my first try, because I attempted the fight many times, but I only tried once, so I did it on my first try. Poison absolutely kicked my ass, and Thunder absolutely saved my ass. Wallace's performance here is probably the most memorable thing he's ever accomplished. I literally called him Steven in my script by accident a couple of sentences ago, if that legitimately tells you anything. I got the Paralysis, but of course this little shit had a berry on him, because why would he make it easy for me? I would use a combination of the super effective Thunder and Hyper Beam, an extremely powerful move, to beat Melodic. Having sent Wallace to an early grave and killing the last living person in Hoenn, I would resurrect Wallace and add him to my zombie army, one I got for defeating Scott off-screen. Zombie Wallace would make some talking noises, and I thought it was cute that it thought it was a person, but I wasn't really listening because it's not a person, it's a zombie. Zombie May and Birch show up and make some zombie talking noises too. May has stopped trying to battle me, because I think she realizes that I'm the main character, and I killed Birch off-screen earlier because I didn't want to be responsible for separating father and daughter. May throws a hissy fit, Wallace takes me to the Hoenn region Pokemon champion record, I am recorded as the new champion, and I did not beat Pokemon Emerald using only a Regirock. That's going to be it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you liked the video, rock smash that like button. If you didn't like the video, toxic yourself. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video or for some reason found me entertaining. Comment down below what you thought of the video and what you'd like to see next. I'll be posting more of my usual content, more Pokemon Challenge Run content, and more RPG video game content in general, so hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when all that good stuff comes out. I haven't been Paul from Mitten Squad, but thank you for watching. Peace.